As humans, we not only get our energy from the food we eat, but we also simply get it from sleeping. And sleep plays a vital role in our daily routine of life. And before most of us came here, obviously all of us were asleep, but all of us vary in the amount of sleep we get each night. And it can be whether I'm staying up all night studying for an exam, or watching TV, or just hanging out with friends. But to me, sleep is something I struggle with from time to time because I go to school 4 days a week. I have to study and do homework, and I also work the 3 days of the week. And on top of that, I like to hang out with my friends and family. And so I wondered how significant is sleep? And so I did a lot of research on this topic. And most of you guys can probably relate because we're all college students. Going to class isn't easy all the time, some of us may be sleeping in class. And that's why this can be relevant to you guys. And so today I'll describe the significance of why adequate sleep, 7 to 9 hours, is important. I'll go through the effects of not getting the right amount of sleep, sleeping excessively, and ways to get the right amount of sleep. So the first thing I'll address are the effects of not getting the right amount of sleep. This can lead to effects in mood, memory, and lead to accidents. And so, according to an online source titled Up All Night, The Effects of Sleep Loss on Mood, people who are sleep deprived tend to be more irritated, angry, and hostile. They have a negative mood, and so they react to things differently. They can get more angry at things like the people screaming at their computers. And it also lowers their positive mood, so they're not as friendly. And second, it can affect your memory. According to a WebMD online article, Sleep Deprivation and Memory Loss, found that this impairs a person's ability to focus and learn. And so, in order to consolidate memory into your head, to make it stick in, sleep is necessary to recall the memory in the future. And so, cramming for exams isn't really a good way to study for them. You should always have the right amount of sleep before you have an exam. And then lastly, this one's really interesting I found, is that sleep can cause car accidents. And a book titled Psychology and Exploration mentions that one symptom of a disorder called narcolepsy is that a person can inhibit sudden falling asleep in any appropriate day or any appropriate time. And so this is a serious issue when driving. And according to an online article titled Sleep Deprived Teens Cause Crashes, it says that 1 in 6 crashes will end up in fatality because of a drowsy sleeper. And not only are they more likely to have sleep-related crashes today, but the crashes are more likely to lead to death than other kinds of crashes. And so, now that I have gone over the effects of not getting the amount of sleep, I'm going to go over sleeping excessively. And so, this has effects on depression, weight gain, heart disease, and fatigue. And so, most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And if you sleep more than 9, it can be a symptom of depression. 15% of people with depression oversleep. Also, it contributes to weight gain. So according to WebMD, a study showed that people who slept for 9 or 10 hours every night were 21% more likely to become obese over a 6-year period, rather than people who slept between 7 and 8 hours, taking into account the food they eat and the exercise they do. And heart disease. A study showed that women who slept for 9 to 11 hours had a 38% chance likely to have coronary heart disease than women that slept 8 hours. And also fatigue. This one was really interesting to me because you're sleeping more, but then you end up feeling more tired after you felt like you had enough sleep. So I read that our internal rhythms are set by a pacemaker, and which are a group of cells that are clustered in the hypothalamus, which is part of the brain, and it controls hunger, thirst, and sweat. And what this pacemaker does is that it tells our cells in our body, and it regulates our energy on a daily basis. And so sleeping too much sets off that biological clock in our bodies, which makes us feel more fatigued. And lastly, I'm going to go over ways to get the right amount of sleep. So you can make a sleep schedule, you can exercise, and then turn down electronics. So making a sleep schedule, you should make one the time you go in bed and then the time you wake up. And this should go not just for the weekdays, but also for the weekends. This keeps your biological clock steady. Second, exercise. Not to exercise 4 hours before you sleep, but according to Michael J. Bruce, a PhD, mentions that exercising lifts your mood and reduces stress. So people who exercise regularly have better sleep than those who are not active. And not only does this improve the quantity of sleep, but it improves the quality of sleep. And then lastly, turn off electronic devices. So cell phones, video games, computers, and television, these influence cognitive stimulation. And so the brain revs up and electrical activity increases and neurons start to race, and that's something that should not happen before you go to sleep. And the glow and the light from the screens, the small amount of light passes through the retina into a part of the hypothalamus, and it reduces the release of the sleep hormone melatonin. Okay, and now you guys know the importance and tips of how to get more sleep. Hopefully you guys can utilize what you guys learned from this, and you guys won't be as tired as much.
So Cooper, some thoughts, please.
I thought that the speech overall was very well put together. You had a really good thesis statement and preview in the beginning. As well as that, you were really good at citing your citations, and your preview and signposts were also very good. I always knew what you were talking about, what you were going to talk about. Some things to improve in the speech would maybe be the attention getter. You didn't have much of one at the beginning. And conclusion, I thought was a little bit lacking. You didn't really summarize the speech, and you didn't go back to the introduction. The visual aids, I thought it was a little excessive. It was used as more of a backdrop as opposed to a speaking point. But I thought overall it was a very good speech.
All right. The thesis statement, I'd agree, was very specific and clearly identifiable. The preview, I think phrasing is a little bit awkward, and I think you run into the same problem with the transitions. You are moving between the points and you are labeling where you are, but they're not always smooth movements. Sometimes they feel a little herky-jerky. I think you need to kind of work on having that more integrated kind of transition. There was one spot where there was a good internal summary as you were going on to the next point, and I thought that was a good thing, but it was not consistent. I think it just happened in between the first and the second point, and then after that, like I said, it just felt a little bit abrupt as you were getting to those individual points. You're allowing the visuals to kind of provide some of those transitions as well, and that's a value of having the visual materials, but it shouldn't be a substitute for your putting in a little bit of effort for us. I thought the visuals were fine for the most part. They illustrate concepts, they make transitions to another idea. They don't add a lot of extra information into the presentation, but they do, especially in a couple of spots, make things a little more interesting to remember and think about. Probably could cut down on a few of them. I don't know how many of the pictures you need, and like the thing with the exercise, I don't know that got you very much at the end anyway. The research in the presentation I thought was pretty solid. You did a good job citing your information consistently throughout the presentation. Delivery issues, like I said, they're not a big deal on this particular assignment. A couple things you want to watch out for: your hands in the pocket, and you have a tendency to talk sideways. You're talking to the screen quite often. Remember, you're talking to us. The screen's a backdrop for you to talk about the subject. It shouldn't be the focus of your attention when you're speaking to us. All right, thank you.